Okay. So what we're gonna do is share the screen. The whole review is on Schoology. This whole little practice ACT. If you want to be following along, you can. But if not, if you need to work on that, kiddo, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and do that today. You can put this off for a little bit, okay? Which term will have a value of 49,152 in the geometric sequence if the first term is 3? Okay, you don't have to know about how to find sequences here, kiddos. There's a formula for this. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even have the formula memorized. I don't need to memorize the formula. I can see what the pattern is here. We were talking in the last class about why they make you take this stinking test. It's not because this is a math test. This is a critical thinking test, okay? What's happening here when we move from 3 to 12? We're multiplying by 4. Do you guys see that? Okay. When we move from 12 to 48, 12 times 4 is 48. 48 times 192, excuse me, 192 times 4 is what? 192 times 4. 768. Thank you. 768. Okay, so let's talk about what terms of the sequences we have here. This is the first term, second term, third term, fourth term, fifth term. I'm just going to keep multiplying times 4. I've got my previous answer in the calculator, so I'm going to put times 4. Okay, let's see. Next I get 3,072. Okay, that's my sixth term. My seventh term times 4, okay, is 1,200. 12,288. That's my seventh term. I'm going to keep multiplying times 4. Oh, look at that. My eighth term is going to be 49,152. Bam. It's the eighth term. Okay. Did I need to know the formula? No. Did I need to see the pattern? Yes. Okay. So we figured that one out. Remember how I said factorials? You haven't learned those yet? I'm going to pick an answer. It's just going to be once I've decided, man, I have absolutely no idea how to do this. I'm going to pick an answer, move on. I don't even care what one it is. I've now saved myself some time so I can focus on the ones that I do know. This one again is factorials. You have not learned this yet. Pick an answer. I hear B is the new C, but I don't know if that, they used to say when I was a kid, everybody picked C. I don't know. Pick whatever one you want. Logarithms, okay? We will be learning about these. So for my juniors, you'll learn this by the end of the year, but for seniors, pick one and move on. It doesn't matter. You haven't learned about logarithms yet, okay? We will learn about them by the end of this year, so that's fun. But now's not the time to learn it. Remember what we said about 17 and 18? Okay, these are equations of ellipses. You have not learned this. You are not supposed to know it. This used to be covered in pre-calculus. It's not anymore, I have been told. But you don't need to know it. Move on. This you do know. And I have it written on the PDF already, but I'm going to write over it if that's okay. So what I did first over here was distribute. So we've got some expressions, right? So let's distribute. This is negative 50 x plus 5z minus 20y, right? And then I distributed here, I'll use pink. I distributed each term here, and I do this a little differently. I like to stack up when I'm combining a bunch of these like terms that are all icky, because when they're just beside each other, I have a hard time combining them. So I said, I want to stack them up. So I have positive 2 times 9y, that's 18y, right? I'm gonna put it underneath here. 18y, and then 2 times negative 4, that's z, that's minus 8z. And then I have 2 times 25, that's plus 50x, sorry, 2 times 25x. And then I'm just going to cancel that. That's minus 3z and minus 2y. Then we're done. It's in a different order. You can change the order without changing the signs, so that one's not so bad. We had a bunch there that we had to skip, and that's frustrating when you're like, oh my gosh, I just missed 6 questions. How many questions do you have to get right to get a 16? So about 16 to 18. So make sure you've got 20 questions that you do well. And then after that, you can start working more slowly through the other problems. It maybe leave the ones blank that, oh, I think I could come back and maybe have some more time for that one. You're also going to see people getting up in the class. That's disconcerting. When you see everybody else, when they're done, if the math part's last, they can get up and they leave, they get a pass to go back to class. And you're like, wait, I'm only halfway finished. That's the way I was. So don't let that stress you out. Everybody works at a different time. And some people, they might have done 2 questions and then say, I just give up. Don't give up. All right. There's so many words in this problem. I think it's dumb. Really, how much is the payment for a limo rental for 8.5 hours? That's all they could have just asked you that. Now look, everything you need to know is here. You don't need to know how much it is to rent a sedan, a van, or a bus, but it's going to cost you $250 plus $20 times 8.5. And you could put that into your calculator. You could do it by hand, but why bother? We have technology. 20 times 8.5. It looks like it's $420 to rent a limo for 8.5 hours. Very specifically 8.5 hours, not 9 hours, not 8 hours. Okay, so that's a very doable problem, but it takes a second to read. Let's take a look at 21. All right, what is the value? Yellow team. What's the value of the expression when x equals negative 28 and a equals negative 5? This looks a hot mess, but it's not bad. Okay, I'm just going to plug in for x. Okay, I'm going to plug in for x. I'm going to plug in negative 28, and I'm going to plug in for a. I'm going to plug in negative 5. Okay, so x is negative 28. And then this is negative 5 minus 2. Okay, I can simplify this a little bit. All right, that's negative 28 divided by negative 7. So that's equal to the square root of 4. Oh my gosh, what's the square root of 4? 2. Yeah, so this looked really intimidating when you see it at first. But once you start breaking it down, we did that in less than a minute. Okay, so very nice. Okay, 22 is the first one that I'm not 100% sure if you're going to be comfortable with. Okay, you may have learned how to do this, or you may have had this for like 1 hot minute in Algebra 1 and forgot how to do it. You have to rationalize the denominator. Okay, in order to add or subtract, if this was, say for example, this was fractions, right? And this was 4/5. We got to go back and remember how to add and subtract fractions. If this was 4/5 minus 3/2, you would need an LCD. You would need a common denominator. Your LCD would be 10. So you need to have 10 on both the top and the bottom. I would multiply top and bottom by 2 here and top and bottom by 5 here. Okay. And then you would have your LCD, you'd be able to subtract. Same thing is going on here. We need the bottom to be the square root of 10. So that we can, so I'm going to multiply by the square root of 2. over the square root of 2 here. And I'm going to multiply by the square root of 5 over the square root of 5 here. So that's going to equal 4 times the square root of 2 divided by the square root of 10 minus 3 times the square root of 5 all over the square root of 10. And then in the numerator, I can't even combine those. Those aren't like terms. Okay, all over the square root of 10. So that is this answer right here. Okay. Now, if all you could figure out is that, well, it's got to be over the square root of 10, then you can eliminate a couple of answers at least. Or if this one's a tough one for you, skip it. Remember, we found 43 problems on this test that you can do, kiddos. That you can do, and they're not so bad. So you only have to get like half of those correct.